They got paid today. You're the lawyer from his side. What you would like to say? How challenging was the case?
Yes, this Ghatkopar Hoarding Collapse case, of course, it was a huge, there was a huge media narrative built up against him. So it was a very challenging case, no doubt. However, the allegations, if you see, according to me, unfortunately, of course, it was an unfortunate incident and purely an act of God. And the prime ingredients of culpable homicide, not amounting to murder, is intention and knowledge. And if you see in this case, no knowledge or intention can be attributed to him for this fatalities. However, unfortunately, of course, there's a huge media narrative, and he was, of course, being questioned, and it was dramatized in a way. But however, I pointed out before the court as to how he was not the director of the company when the hoarding was erected at the time of construction of the hoarding. Yes, he was a director of the company when the hoarding collapsed. But, prior to his directorship, he had complied with all the proper legal procedures. He had ensured all the proper legal compliances. So this is not and the fact remains that this is a railway land. This is not a BMC land. So, hence thereafter, every time it is being spoken that no PMC permission was sought because it was not a BMC land. So, all the other legal procedures were followed, but there was no illegality not seeking permission from the BMC. And also, there are allegations that he has, nexus with Arshad Khan, but there are no bank transactions in the charge sheet between him and Arshad to corroborate that. None of the witnesses have stated against him to establish any nexus. So I pointed out all of these aspects, and I'm really happy that I secured bail for him and justice has prevailed.
The hoarding, basically, it was a railway land, and you have also put it in your point, ma'am, talking to ANI.
Yes.
So, do all permissions for installing that hoarding on that particular place, do it have sought from the railway department and all to have it?
So no fault can be attributed to my client, for that aspect, because he has done his due diligence. He's complied with all the legal procedure, be it for increasing the size, be it conducting proper inquiry, be it seeking legal permissions, and all the permissions have been granted, and which is there in the form of evidence in the charge sheet, compiled in the charge sheet. So I pointed out everything before the court. How, of course, it has been narrated so far was completely different, and how I pointed out throughout the charge sheet was what was the fact which was put forth before the court. So, of course, these are all allegations. Ultimately, what is there on record is what we have to prove before the court.
It was when you talk about the size, it was 120 to 125 feet. It's very tall in size as well. So, is there any law, any act for installation of any hoarding at this big size at the public place to have it installed?
See, permissions are supposed to be sought, and in the form of compilation of the charge sheet, there is a clear evidence that he has been granted all these permissions. So there was no illegality on his part, so far as that aspect is concerned. And then, again, if you see, then again, I'm emphasizing that over and over because, of course, I argued at length for about 4 hours in the court, but one of my most pertinent submission was that it is an act of God because it is an unfortunate stormy wind, excessive wind. The speed was also, of course,
40 to 50
yes, that's not a normal occurrence, and it doesn't happen on day-to-day basis. So something like that, a man being incarcerated for such a long time, and then facing such a huge media backlash, and so many stories being built up against him. And of course, I've also pointed out about the political vendetta against him. That since he's a political figure also, so of course there are a lot of people again, used this whole case as a vindication and vindictively against him also. So of course he became a scapegoat also.
What now in this case, ma'am? Left us more than a dozen people lost their life in this case.
That is absolutely unfortunate. What has happened is unfortunate. You cannot walk away from the fact. But now I believe that he is definitely innocent. My client is innocent. And now, of course, the biggest hurdle in the case, that is, of course, his release prior to his conviction, or acquittal is already done. He's been released now. And I'm very confident about the acquittal also, considering I have gone through the entire charge sheet. So I'm very confident, and I'll ensure